to the EthanLive podcast. It's Wednesday, August the 6th, and sort of continuing with our Hero Dog program of trying to get as many Hero Dogs on as we can. Hero Dog semifinals have been named. Go to AmericanHumane.org. Voting is open until September 15th. You can vote once a day. You can vote for one dog in each category. Whatever you do, go there and read all those stories. They have some really, really cool stories. This afternoon, we are very happy and blessed to be joined by Tech Sergeant Dakota Hood in the Air Force. Dakota, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for your service.
Exactly.
Your sacrifice to the country and community, it goes without saying. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for letting me serve. It gives me something to do.
Yeah. Where are you?
Yeah, where are you?
I'm currently based at Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma.
Okay.
What part of the country are you from?
I was born and raised in Petersburg, Virginia. So about 45 minutes south of Richmond. Nobody really knows where it's at, it seems. And then, kind of went from there. Never really went outside of Virginia until I got in the military.
So tell us, before we jump into Joker and sort of his service and story, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the military and what made you want to enlist and sort of your journey through the military.
Yeah.
Okay, so like everyone else, right? I started off in high school, graduated, was like, man, I don't want to go to college. College sucks. So me being the very uneducated person that I was, decided I'm going to work on cars. Like my dad did it, my grandpa did it. So I became a Nissan Master Tech at the age of 21. Went through the whole course in the school and everything else, did really a good job at it, but realized that commission wasn't it. I worked at a dealership, so unfortunately, a lot of the times, that's when Nissan was rolling out with a lot of recalls and stuff like that, and we were back ordering a lot of parts, which means I didn't close out tickets, which means I couldn't get paid. So I was sitting there with like a whole bunch of tickets that were open that were waiting on one or two parts that caused like another 5 or 6 hours worth of work to happen after that to close out a ticket. And I wasn't getting enough money. So eventually I was living on my own. I was already moved out of the house. So I decided, I was like, I need to change something. At that time, my current girlfriend, her dad was in the Air Guard. So he was like, just go take the test. Because I took it prior, like way before, right? And was going through that whole process, but then decided to back out of it because it just didn't seem right. I was trying for the Marines for a little bit. The recruiter was weird a little bit, and I didn't mesh well with it. So I just stopped going altogether, just continued on with my technician career and went from there. Well, with her dad doing it, right afterwards, we found out that recruiter had some stuff happen to him. So they ended up handing out our portfolios out. My portfolio happened to go to an Air Force recruiter. So the Air Force recruiter got the portfolio. I was, at the time, got a call, and they were like, hey, we see your ASVAB scores. I mean, were you interested in still potentially looking into the services? At the time, I just met, her and her dad was kind of like egging it on a little bit, like, hey, it's a good job, it's constant pay, even if you don't want to stay in forever, right, you can do 6 years and pop out. I had ended up getting a bad stint at work where I just was not getting any money. Like I was having to use my sick days to get paid a little bit, and we were just understaffed, and it was the wintertime. And I don't know if you know how the technician world works, but brief synopsis is, in the wintertime, are you going to buy presents for your kids, or are you going to get your car fixed, right? A lot of people choose the kids route because they want to make them smile and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, the car can wait till the tax season. Summertime is great, but wintertime's horrible. So lo and behold, I signed that paperwork in the winter, as you could tell. And then went in January, got a short notice turnaround, right? Went in January because they said the first job that opened up was Open General. And Open General, when I got the basic, put me to security forces. So divine intervention sent me down this route. First phase, Kirtland, New Mexico. Stayed there for a little bit, was at the WSSS, certified down there, certified underground and everything else. Worked on the, more of the security side of everything, not really the LE side. Well, I had a tech sergeant that kind of pointed me toward direction, is Tech Sergeant Stidham. He was the one that started talking to me about everything, kind of told me what K9 was and said, you might be a good fit. You might want to go try it. So my first weekend to attempt to go to the kennels, they were doing training out there in Albuquerque with the Albuquerque Police Department, Bernalillo County, a whole bunch of big, integrations. And there's all these dogs, like all these guys getting around their dogs. And they're like, hey, go put this suit on. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't give me a brief on what I was supposed to do. I just was supposed to stay in the building and just stay in the corner and not move. Try to hold my breath, like, so the dog can't, obviously it didn't work. Got beat up pretty bad that day. But then I was like, this is fun. Like, it is kind of fun because you see the camaraderie that you build outside of that. Everybody's got their canine patches on and they're 2 with the asterisks. And I'm just trying to figure out where I need to fit in to get into this position. So didn't necessarily want canine at first, right? Just went in and just kind of fell in love with what they do, fell in love with the job itself, and then realized this is kind of like what I want to do. Like, I like dogs, was like, why not try this? Realized it's a little bit harder than just liking dogs, of course, but
Yeah.
went to school in Albuquerque. Went to school from Albuquerque, obviously back to Texas, then back to Albuquerque for a year, then short tour straight to Turkey. Stayed in Turkey
Oh,
for a year as a full dog team. So I got certified in Albuquerque, certified in Turkey, and then certified in Hawaii, where I eventually ended up after Turkey, and then finally to Vance Air Force Base. Hawaii is where I met Joker.
Okay.
okay. Okay.
This
My
was
first 2 dogs were Tommy and Dollar. So Tommy was my first dog in Albuquerque, and Dollar was my first dog in Turkey.
and when you guys were whatever you can talk about when you were in Turkey, was what kind of dog was Dollar? It was like an explosive detection dog, or what kind of
Yep.
things were you guys doing?
He was a patrol explosive detection dog. We pretty much did base defense stuff. Obviously, worked the search gate area. We got tasked with some small stuff, just here and there to go TDY a little bit, but nothing too crazy, right? Most of it's just be in position, be in place, kind of like build the team up. Dollar was a brand new dog, really. He was a green dog, had no one certified on him when I got out there. So they pretty much threw him to me, and that's what I worked on. And then Tommy, who I got when I was in Albuquerque, was a seasoned dog. He was a beast. We went and did United Nations General Assembly. We went, downtown New York and did a whole bunch of stuff down there. We did a lot of like Secret Service stuff, and then also
Yeah.
some PL1, PL2 mission stuff. So over time, we ended up building like a big camaraderie, and I learned a lot from that dog because it's just obviously stepping stones. And then I started getting my hands on other dogs while I was there just to help maintain some of the dogs because we kept losing handlers, and you got more dogs, you have handlers, so somebody has to like pick up the slack, and we as a team did it. So it seemed to make out a little bit more time.
Okay, and so when you guys have, just because I don't know, when you guys
No.
have dogs like Tommy and Dollar, do they retire out, or they rotate to another deployment
Another.
or another handler? How does that work?
So every dog is assigned to the DoD, right? They stay assigned to the base that they get assigned to. For example, in Hawaii, we have a Navy and an Air Force kennel. Now, the Navy side and the Air Force kennel, right? We made them a joint kennel. It is now straight down the middle, pretty much, almost 10 and 10. I was a trainer and kennel master out there for a little bit. So, like, I worked the whole handler side for 3 years, trainer for a year, and then kennel master for almost a year. So I did the whole iteration out there. All the dogs stay there. So like you don't have to worry about necessarily that your dog's not getting enough training. The problem is going to get if your dog can get put on a certain person at a time, right? So we lose handlers back and forth. Some people, end up getting pregnant or they get hurt or something like that. They can't work a dog anymore. So somebody has to like take over for them. So the dog is assigned to the base, and then after the base is like utilizing them, they assign people to the dog at that base. So you'll do everything from that home location. So you deploy with that dog from this base, and when you come back, you go back to that base. But if you have to PCS, the dog normally stays at the location. I've only ever seen very few cases where dogs PCS with the person. It's very rare that ever happens, and it's normally in like a very case by case, very specific case scenario.
Oh, very interesting.
And just so, because again, I don't understand the
We
language.
don't know.
PPS, what is that?
Say what? Oh, so
What?
permanent change of station. So if
Okay.
I was to move from Vance to another base anywhere, you could pick a place. So it could be Colorado, right? I would not be able to take a dog from here, even if I worked them right to Colorado. They would stay at the base that they're assigned to. So the
Okay.
dog is almost, I would hate to say it like this, but this is how it's kind of formed. The dog is like equipment for the base.
Yeah.
They specifically get a certain allotment from dogs. The dog gets assigned to that base. Then you, as a handler, fill the slot to work that dog, almost like a piece of equipment, but obviously in a different format. We obviously
Right.
care for them more than that, but it
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's very cool. I when we went through Hero Dog in 2022, and people have heard me say this before, but the military and the canine dogs are like you guys love your dogs as much as I love my dog, and I do everything I can to protect my dog. And then you guys
Right.
have to put your dog right in the line of fire to go out there and do, the job that it was trained to do. So I admire that, and it
Yeah.
seems such a difficult thing to do to put your dog out there, and I mean you don't know if they're coming back or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's rough. I think that we do it because obviously, we signed up for this specific job, but also we know if we can trust in the dog that's in front of us, right, and I can save 20 people behind me rather than send 20 people to potentially a death-ending situation, I'd rather take that chance, right? And you've trained for it, so you and him both kind of put yourself in a position that compromises you, but also can save more people than it can without you. So, you being as a team and being that versatile asset, I think means more to most people once you really fill out that job and when you really adopt it like that, like into that level of like your soul a little bit. You really want to push forward and be good at your job, and that's why, yeah, you have to put him in danger asset, but he's also protecting you and everyone behind you, and they kind of know that too.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
he's got a job to do. That's very cool. So you come back to Hawaii and meet up with Joker. And what did you know? Sort of, what did you know about Joker before that? Was he just getting in the military dog working program, or how did that go?
So all of our dogs for military working dogs, right? They go to Lackland. They go through what I call like puppy basic, right? They have 120 days to become detection and patrol certified, right? And then they get sent out to the base for their operational Air Force stuff. Well, Joker, I had gotten there, and Joker arrived on the island 3 days later. So,
Oh,
my buddy who was at trainer's course or at the time was down there doing 7 level school. He brought him back. So like he brought him on the plane with him back to Hawaii. They normally
oh,
try to pair people like that. So like they'll pair you if you go down for TDY to save the money for the Air Force, right? You have a shred. You'll take a dog back to your base with you if you happen to have availability at your base, or if there's availability at some base near you, you'll bring that dog back to your current base and then they'll come pick it up.
oh,
Obviously saving money and like delegating out time. Didn't know anything about him besides the fact that he was big. That's it. That's
yeah.
what I got. He's a big dog. And he's kind of doopy. Like he doesn't like escalators. Doesn't understand what an elevator is. Doesn't want to give you the Kong back. If he gets the Kong, he just holds on to it like forever. So like he sees a Kong, he wants to get it from your pocket. Like it's like his safe space. So all I
Interesting.
knew is he was a little special, right? And I knew that me and him were gonna have some work cut out for each other because from the stories of him trying to crawl up the chair on the plane so he could start working because he's now got adapted to doing work down there, training on a fake plane. Now he's on a real plane, thinking he can still work. Immediately with the muzzle on and everything, he's losing his mind trying to climb stuff, and it's obviously a long flight, so he was kind of going crazy. But they
Oh,
ended up getting him here, and then that's when I first met him. Probably my 10th day in training.
wow. So how
Yeah.
many years were you with Joker?
I was with Joker for 5 years. I was a handler for him for 3. I was a handler on him at a little bit as a trainer, and then I was also on him as a kennel master. So
Okay.
we had some time together.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Great.
that's very cool. So what kind of deployments or sort of missions that you and Joker have together?
We had a couple to Guam. One big one, we did something called Cope North. It's a big like SME thing, like subject matter expert exchange kind of thing. So we send a whole bunch of people out there, right? And we change up with like the Japanese personnel, some New Zealanders, a little bit of Marines, Army, even other countries, right? They come out and watch us do like our dog training and stuff, trying to like adopt them into it. We end up doing that stuff together. Even Korea and some other people, like they need something to stand up. We kind of help out with that. We kind of do that stuff on repeat. We were doing that. We were doing some obviously PL1 stuff. The president goes to Hawaii a lot just to land, and then that's like his one gaining location to then fly forward. So we do a lot of clearing and stuff like that for that. We ended up doing stuff for the Pot Rock with the president of the Korea. So he ended up landing right. We did there was exchange of personnel there, some remains and stuff like that. We exchanged back and forth, obviously helping build bonds and stuff like that. But they have us out there sweeping some of the luggage and everything else between that time frame. And just multiple admirals and stuff like that. Because obviously the Navy generally goes everywhere there. Like the Chief Summit is there for like the Air Force, so all the chiefs around the Air Force come to Hawaii, right? They all sit down and do that kind of stuff. We end up taking point for a lot of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then anything that deal with like neighboring islands, they'd send us to sometimes. Even clearing stuff off of ships at time frames is like part of our job too. So we'll get on like the Missouri. Um, we've cleared the Arizona before like some actual like dignitaries went out. The mayor, any person you pretty much think of that flies to Hawaii at any point in time, we probably have a hand in it somewhere on the base. Just because Joint Base is such a large place and that's the biggest airport and the only airport on Honolulu, like on Oahu, like that. That's mostly what we do. A lot of stuff we end up doing over there is stateside stuff. We will TDY a little bit, but not as often. And deployments aren't very few and far in between for us over there. Mostly the Navy takes the deployment side, and then Air Force kind of stays like doing TDYs and stateside mission stuff, so we can like forward deploy people for any other needs.
Wow.
Yeah, that's very cool. So you said, like, you kind of knew that Joker was a little special, and he has these certain little intricacies. So tell me a little bit about training him and the difficulties and the challenges and the fun that you had sort of training him.
Yeah. So my first time with Joker was kind of weird. You know how everybody goes, see, I saw him and I loved him the first second I saw him.
Yeah.
Did not have that at all.
Okay.
Me and him, we knew each other. We're like, both had a job to do in different ways. We just like, I cared about him, right? I just didn't know that like we were gonna have this problem. So like he would see a Kong and go crazy. Like you put it in your pocket, he would try to attack your pocket for it. You put it like you hide it behind your back, he tried to go for it, put it on your arm. You had to worry about it. It was a whole bunch of stuff and ordeals overall. So at one point we were in training. They initially started the green dog training process, which is like 45 days to get your dog validated and on, you know, on the road and stuff like that. Just work out any quirks.
Yeah.
My first day outside, I have brand new boots on because like I'm in a new base trying to make a good impression. And I have the Kong, right? And I finally get him to hard out it because he would not out for me. He would not out for anybody. He would just lock onto the Kong, carry it to the ground. He's very possessive over it. So he would just hold on to it, just both paws. So you had to like try to reach in and grab it. And it was horrible. Like you couldn't get him to give it back to you. And eventually I finally got him out to out it. And then I would have to stand on top of the Kong to get him to stop going for it. And it would work for a little bit. And then eventually he decided that, oh, it's just a shoe. I'll just bite through it.
Oh no.
So he was biting through my boot to get to it. So there's I have a pair of boots at home somewhere. I know I do, that have a chunk taken out of the side of it where he bit and grabbed the Kong. Eventually we built out enough rapport and stuff like that where it started to work right and things start to click. Just like any other dog team, it takes a couple reps and a little bit of time, and then eventually it starts to work your way out. After a while, he ended up coming up to find out we had Giardia, like at some point, like where he, you know, so every single day, twice a day, I had to drive into work and, as nasty as it sounds, go wash his butthole, like with special soap, so he didn't get anybody else contagious.
Right.
So obviously, like knowing if you have any sick dogs, it's a pain. But during that time frame, right, I'm seeing him more now than I was seeing him before, right? And I'm seeing him 5 days a week. Now I'm seeing him 7 days a week, and then I'm doing playing with him and stuff like that outside because I'm just not going to go see him, you know, disrespect him like that, wash his butt, and then dip. So I would stay with him, play with him, and stuff like that. And then he'd give him a bath. He got way more baths than he needed at that time for sure. But eventually we built more of a bond, right? And he started to, like, you know, offering up behaviors to me a lot more often, giving the Kong back just because like I wasn't playing with him. And eventually got to the point where he would just out the Kong if I didn't engage with him. He would just let it go. He would just drop it to the ground, didn't care. So eventually we built this bond that like now the Kong didn't mean anything. It's what Dad gave me meant more. So if I have another Kong in my pocket and I gave it to him, he would care again. But then if I picked up the other Kong, he would drop that Kong and come back to me. So it's like he started realizing like it started to click. And then over time it got better. We got certified, and then did a whole bunch of other small stuff before we started going on missions and stuff, just because you're still in the training phase. But it got to the point where like I was trying to work on picking him up because at first he didn't like that either. He had his own little twerks, right? Like you got to work on with your dog. There's little isms that most dogs come with because they don't get trained on that specifically, right? They get some training for a little bit of stuff, but some of that stuff's on you as a handler to start working out. And taking him to the vet was a thing too. He didn't like to go in the vet's office. So he had to make everything kind of like a safe space at first. And eventually he started to get better and better. And then he started to really show that bond. And about 2 years in, we're inseparable. Like going to a problem, I could hold the lead taut, tell him to out the Kong. He would just drop the Kong, leave it on the ground, and then go work for another odor without having to turn back for the Kong. He didn't care that it was there. In the middle of a problem, just tell him to out. He'll spit the Kong and then run to the next odor, or at least attempt to go find the next odor. And I could just leave the Kong behind us, and it wouldn't matter. It didn't. He was working for me at that point instead of the reward, which is really nice because when you have a dog that's willing to work for you or wanting to work for you instead of you're forcing them to work, that dog right there will work for you at any point in time.
Yeah.
And as he's working and sweeping, is he's sniffing for explosives? He's an explosive detection dog. Is that what he's looking for?
Yeah, patrol explosive detector dog. Yes, he's a ped.
Okay. So how do you So you've got him. You've worked through his intricacies and struggles, and you guys have created this bond. And how do you? Now, were you his handler, or until his retirement, or how did that sort of work out?
So I was his handler until I became a trainer. Then when I became a trainer, someone else took him over for a little bit, right, while I was there still. And then that handler PCS'd, right? And then another handler took him over after I was about to leave, as a kennel master. So I was sitting in the kennel master seat and I worked him for a little bit. And in the break time where he didn't have a handler at all, I would just pick him up. It made it easier for us as a team, like to have an extra dog certified, just in case something ever happened and you need the extra body, right? We're a certified team. We can still work, still do jobs, right? And obviously you can't let a dog sit, right? It's just not allowed. We don't normally let that happen. Like we can maintain a dog, but I would get certified on him just in case a mission would drop or something like that. I knew I could backfill and help out. Especially I've even had to work the road, right, as a kennel master because it would help out the team because we just didn't have enough bodies at the time. Because everywhere across the world, I think right now, especially going through COVID, a lot of people kind of fell off the track. We didn't get people coming inbound as much or leaving. So we had this like limbo area where nobody was going in or coming. So like we just kind of got stuck. So we were filling the slots with other people. So me and him just always was a default team. Every time we got into a position where we needed to put somebody on someone, I'd put myself on him because I knew exactly what to do. Pick up the leash. It was like I never forgot. Like we never left. So it was always like going back. So it was definitely a trying time but fun.
Dakota, how many years does each animal usually, how many years does a dog usually serve?
And I think I'm gonna give you a generic norm really. So unless medically otherwise, normally try to go 8 years with the peds, like 8 to 10 is like the generic area. 8 years or so, we start to stop the bite work stuff because obviously like when they do the bite work, eventually like when they hit people, it's almost like a small car crash. Like I would like to say it like that, like in a nice way, but it's like a small car crash. Like they hit with a lot of force, especially some of the dogs that don't cushion their bites. They like just drive through. So they really hit hard. And when that happens, like, it does a little bit of tolling on the body, just like us, right? Wear gear, run around all day. Eventually your knees start giving up on you.
Right.
Same thing for the dogs, but their hips are normally their problem, right? Because they're hitting people and all of that weight gets distributed through the hips. And that's where it normally stops and sits at. Or if you funnel them right, it kind of goes out the back legs. But eventually over time, it works around that area. 8 to 10 years, and then 10 years, you try to get them home, right? If we can get a chance to get them to a house that's normally around 10 years old, and that's only because they're doing regular detection, and that normally takes a little bit of time to dispo a dog out. It takes, unfortunately, it does take a little bit of time just because it's a whole bunch of paperwork and a longer process. The vets have to clear it, program manager has to clear it, trainer has to clear it. It's a whole ordeal, but it works out pretty good.
Okay, so they have to be like deprogrammed in a way.
They'll get deprogrammed, right? We try to take them out of bite work. So when they go to their house, they're not still stuck in that way. They never really forget it though. Like, it's still ingrained in them. They've been doing this for most of their life. So it's like telling you to stop working if you've been working your whole life. It's just really hard to turn it off.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
So he retires. Tell us about just a little bit about that process when military working dog retires, and who gets the opportunity or the first chance to adopt that dog and to take that dog on. I know there was a wonderful reunion with you and Joker, and so tell us about how that process works and how you decided that I want to take him on in his retirement life.
I wanted to take him on before I left the base. I told him I wanted to take him when I left. I told him I was going to get this dog. I told every person that had him after me that he was my dog when he retired. I made it very, very well known. Like everybody at my base knew that I really wanted to take him home. I never got to retire one of my dogs out. My first dog was too aggressive. My second dog, the most recent handler that had him before I did, took him home. So this is I felt like my last shot at getting a dog that I personally worked for a long time and to take him home. So I really was very adamant about me wanting to bring him home. But I stayed in contact with the kennels a lot. Of course, the guy that took over my position and the guy that took over as a kennel master is the master now, Leon Guerrero. LG, he was the one that helped me out a ton, and they kept me in his mind whenever we went through it. But normally how it goes is if you're retiring a dog, if you're a previous handler, you get first dibs. At the most previous though. So your most recent previous handler would be the first dib. So like if you worked him last and you wanted to take him home, you would actually technically get first dibs over me. I was his first handler, so I was on the bottom of the list, unfortunately. But I had been certified on him technically by the Air Force 5 separate times. So like 3 as a handler, then 2 other times as a trainer and a kennel master. So it looks good, right? But at the same time, other people knew that I really wanted to take him home. So I think they just kind of like, I worked with him
Backed
for so
off.
long. They were like, yeah, you know what? I get it. Right. I understand you really want him. So I just kept in contact with him all the time, just making sure they were still good to go. I was checking on him, confirming that he was going to get out, calling the vets to confirm that he was getting out, doing the pre-work stuff, getting in contact with Miss April. Like she helped us out a ton by helping set up the reunion for us. She's actually PCS'd a couple of our dogs to their handlers, 3 from Hawaii technically. So MWD John was the first one that kind of started that process, and then Macy, and now Joker was the most recent one, at least from Hawaii. Then we have 2 from Vance that actually retired out, and American Humane helped out with that process as well, which would be DeLarge and Aries. So both of them specifically, like, were all set up because Miss April and the American Humane Society was able to like get some stuff squared away so we can actually get our dogs. And it's just a huge process, right? My wife knew when I got, when I told her, I was like, I'm bringing him home. I want you to know that, like, regardless. This was years ago. Like, this isn't like last week or before this dog's supposed to come. I'm bringing this dog home 3 years before he's ready to retire. Like, I'm telling her on repeat, like, you can get whatever you want, you can do whatever you want, but I'm taking this dog home. He's coming home at some point. And she wholeheartedly was very like opinionated about like making sure that he had something to do when he got home, like make sure he had some room to run and area to play, right? Because it's going to be a lot for her, but very supportive in the same fact that like she knew that I really wanted to bring him home, and she knew how much it meant to me to get him, on the couch life and the much deserving retired life that he gets. So we definitely make it worth his while. Now he actually has two brothers and small human son is like that, and two human daughters, and then he actually has 2 Frenchies that are under him, Lychee and Louie, and he actually trains with them. I don't know why, but there's a picture I have on my phone that they're both all sitting at the same time. It was the first day I brought him home, and they're all sitting and locked in. But he was a good dog, and like he's since then just kind of adopted in that lifestyle. We thought it was going to be kind of rough at first, but nope. My little kids can tell him to out and sit and down and stay and stuff like that. He does all the commands just like he would do for me. Like, he'll sometimes look at me to make sure he's doing it right, but other than that, he still listens to them.
I was going to ask you, what's his life like in retirement? What's he's like? What he's like at home?
I don't think he understands what a kennel is anymore, to be honest. Like, he knows he has a bed beside our bed, and he goes over to that, and he plops down at night, and he makes these little happy groans. I don't know. It sounds weird, but he just goes, and then passes out. And he's out for the night. Like he'll wake up, in the morning. We'll get up in the morning. We'll go outside, and he'll play with the kids. Like my daughter wants to run him in the morning too. Like, so he'll eat. He'll wait a couple hours. Then my daughter will go outside with him and then throw the Kong with him, and he'll just bring it back and drop it and keep doing that forever until he gets tired. And then he'll bring back both Kongs and go inside and plop down. And he just kind of hangs out. Does everything you think he needs to be doing in a retired life, like getting little bones and treats now and getting spoiled a little bit. Rightfully
Well, what a
so.
wonderful life after all those years of service. So it's wonderful that he's home with you and your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and he started off with him not wanting to give you the Kong back, and now you've got he's out there, and he just drops it perfectly fine.
Yeah, divine intervention, right? Like he just proved me that I'm an idiot. That's all he said. He was like, "Yeah, this guy don't know what he's doing," because he gives the Kong every time. Like my son will go up to him. My son's 3. Keep in mind, 3 years old. Goes to him, goes, "Joker out," and he just goes. And I'm like, "Where was it? Where was it when I first picked you up? Where's this at?" And then he's just out here playing. He'll like lay down for him and stuff. Like do a whole bunch. He'll heel beside him. He's the same height as he is, so he just looks at his face. I'm like,
oh,
there he is. There he is at the beach. So how did you hear about the Hero Dog Awards and decide, hey, that would be something that would be really cool to honor him for his service?
I heard about it through Miss April, actually. She sent an email before and said something about it, actually, when she was here most recently. I think she brought it up in conversation. And she was like, yeah, there's some awards that come out, like, yearly that they sometimes, like, put dogs in for. It's like, I think Joker would be a good, idea. He's got you guys got a crazy story, right? You stayed on him for that long. We're finally able to get him home and stuff like that. You guys did a whole bunch of random things, like from Secret Service stuff to PL1 missions to the presidential sweeps to, everything in between. It'd be really cool, right? right? And he has just, such a weird, goofy personality. He probably have a good time just sitting up there showing off his derpiness. And I was like, yeah, you know what, he might be.
That's very cool. And I've always, we've been involved with American Humane for several years now. And one of the things I admire and love most about them is their devotion to the military dogs and bringing military dogs back to the United States who are either injured or passed away overseas, and their devotion to training service dogs for disabled veterans or veterans with PTSD. And it's just a wonderful organization that I really like being a part of. And the Hero Dog is just a wonderful way to bring stories out about these 25 semifinalist dogs, and there's so many more of them, but you narrow it down to these 25 semifinalists and 5 in the military category. And it's just a wonderful story because it's a lot of things that people don't hear or don't see. And I ask you a lot of questions because I just don't know. I admire all the stuff that you do, but so give us one. Well, first of all, and I, because you're in the military, I don't know. Is there any social media that people can follow Joker on, or anyway?
Not really. Like, I haven't made one for him specifically yet. I know that there's obviously some gray areas. Normally when they retire, they're pretty much more lenient with it, but obviously I want to make sure that I do right by them, and I kind of get it cleared with PA just to make sure. But I want to eventually get him, like, a little Facebook page or Instagram. Just nothing currently, just because I know that there is some gray areas, right, with some of that stuff. But because he's retired, I think they're a little bit more lenient with that stuff. But I like to confirm, because better be safe than sorry than be like, oh, my bad. Like,
oops. Well, and this is a while there are some amazing stories, it is sort of a voting contest, and I like to give folks, as they come on, one last little spot to say, hey, there are some great stories out here, but this is some reasons why Joker is my hero dog, and why he should be considered a hero for his service.
For me, it's just the fact that we went so far, right? Like, you got to think Hawaii is you're get locked into one area. You can't go anywhere, right? You're stuck with this dog. I spent my entire time as COVID with this dog. So when we were all in lockdown, I was with him. I didn't have any contact with anybody else. He was the one thing that kept me going through COVID, right? I had unfortunately went through a separation at the time, a divorce and everything. And my kids had went back to the States. My two daughters, with my previous ex at the time, I had lost them at the same time. They all went to the States together, and I could not get them back because COVID, the travel restrictions, they weren't even allowed to fly. So the only thing I had that was constant with me was Joker. So he pushed me through some very trying times. And going in to see his little smiling face, and he'll jump up and give you big hugs. Like, he's weird. He likes to put his paws around your back and pull you in. Like, what's up, dog? Like, he just loves it. I don't know why. It's just the way he is. But he used to lock in on you. And like, when I had a crappy day, I would just turn and look at his big, cute eyes and be like, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'd go train him, and then my mind would get reset, right? And it would be like the thing that they would call, my kids would call me, not even happy to see me. Where's Joker?
Where's Joker?
I'm like, he's in the back. Can we see him? Can we see him? Can we see Joker? So I'd have to pull him out of the car, and that was like the happiest thing they would do, is see him. They'd be so happy that I was working with him and doing stuff with him. And like, even when I went to Guam for the first time, right, he had never slept in a bed before, right? We were stuck in the kennels at the time, and we were the only team there initially. Like, we just got there, so I let him sleep in the bed with me because I was like, oh, we'll see how this goes. This man can take up more space on a bed than any dog ever. Like, laid out. I wish I had a picture of it, but he had passed out, and it was super dark in there. But he sprawled out, one leg's like stretched straight, one leg's crooked, the other arm's across my face. He's just sprawled completely open, just living life. Like, and it was just funny that like we got to adapt in this weird like setup when the world was, I want to say, at a very weird unknown time. Like, we didn't know what was going to go forward from COVID. We didn't know what life was going to be like. We didn't know if we're ever going to get back to as normal as you can get. So, and now it's like, he was the one that kind of drove me through all that, like having him to go to every day and because you couldn't even be on shift with your other people. It was just you and the dogs. So having him to go home to, even if, it sounds weird, but we all talk to our dogs. Let's not play. Like, we all talk when we go home, have a rough day, right? Sometimes your dog just knows when you're having a bad day, and they come up, put their nose on you or put their face on you. I would have that little grate open in between me and the fence, and he would just put his head on my shoulder, knowing I was going through it. and just made your day feel that much easier. Even though it wasn't going to be over anytime soon, the fact that I knew for a fact I had at least 12 to 14 hours with him meant that I was going to at least have something and somebody to like be around and do something with.
Yeah.
So it kind of made life a little bit easier when I knew that I was going through probably one of the toughest times that I'd went through in a long time.
Well, thank goodness he got to come home with you.
Yeah, that's very cool, and good for you for reaching out and making sure that he was going to come to your home.
Yes.
And so go to americanhumane.org. Voting is open now until September 15th. You can vote once a day, once in each category. And there is 5 amazing dogs in the military category, and Dakota Tech Sergeant Dakota Hood. Thank you so much for your time today and telling us about your story and Joker's story. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me be part of this. I really appreciate it. Giving a chance to tell our piece and speak to it. But I really appreciate American Humane for doing everything they did for us, right? Because I know if I didn't have them doing that, I don't know if I would have had the funds to bring him out here. But I know for a fact I would have tried to find a way. But the fact that they can do that and help us out with a lot of that stuff, it's just amazing that they do all that stuff for a lot of other people too.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Yeah, so they do wonderful work. And once again, thank you for your service and thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Again, thank you for letting me serve. I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah.